Good morning. Welcome back to Bar 46. Kind of chilly this morning. I think it was about 6 degrees when I left the house. My friends in Montana and Wyoming would say that's probably shorts weather. That's why I don't live in Montana or Wyoming. Not tough enough. So we had a question the other day about grass-fed versus grain-fed, and how's all that work? Well, first disclosure is I'm going to tell you I'm not the expert, but I've done more homework than most, so I'll share with you what I know. You see that we're giving these young bulls and these older mamas some grain this morning, and I do every morning. But I also let them eat grass, or hay in this case, all day long. They get as much as they want. So the question is, when I harvest one of these, is that grass finished or grain finished? And my answer to that is, if you look at the USDA's definition of grass finished, we meet that at every level, because they have access to grass and hay that we cut here on the farm and bale it and feed it to them this time of year. By every legal definition, we are grass fed, grass finished. But we do give them grain, not as a mainstay as their diet, but in this particular case, because it's cold and they just went through a real cold evening, that extra protein gives them some energy. The energy is what they need to keep that body working right. So we don't give it to them as their sole diet. We give it as more of a treat, if you will, because they need that. You see how these older girls really fight their way to the feed bunk so that they can enjoy that grain in the morning. And then they'll eat on the hay throughout the rest of the day and lay down and drink water and reduce or eliminate their stress. That's the whole idea. And I take my lead from my Japanese counterparts that have forgot more than I'll ever know. But I think they raise the best beef on the planet. And they feed grain to all of their cows. All of them. Both the red, the black, all that they have in Japan. And if that's the way they do it and it works really well for them, why wouldn't I do it? It's a benefit all the way around. And some farmers would tell you, well, Jim, it's too expensive to feed grain, especially to animals that, you're not going to harvest. All these young bulls, all these little guys over here that you see, why would we do that? Well, it helps eliminate their stress. As you see, there's a pecking order, as there always is. That's why I put it in different spots so that everybody gets a little bit. So when it comes to how to feed and how to take care of your animals, I read and watch everything I can on the Japanese farmers. Got one little girl in the back over there. She's real young, in with some of the older girls because she just decided she'd go where she wanted, so I put her in the monoslope. But now I have to find ways to get her some grain. But anyway, that's how the argument shakes out, and most consumers don't have any idea. They think that a grass-finished animal never touched any grain, and that's probably not the case. Some farms, I'm sure, do that, but you don't get the intermuscular fat that you need, the monounsaturated fat, the healthy fats that you need, if it's just a grass finished animal. Unlike what most people associate our feedlots, where cows are standing on 1,000 tons of manure, eating a really poor diet of grain all day long, and that's what they associate the grass-fed versus grain-fed and finished. Those animals are just hammered with grain, and that's a terminal path. Once you start feeding that much grain, you can't unwind that. Not that that's ever their intention anyway. But the way we feed this, that rumen in their stomach, and there's different compartments, they're all fully developed because they've had grass their entire life. And the grain that we give them is barley. And I got that from Jerry Reeves, used to be a professor at WSU and just an absolute gentleman. One of the very first to bring Wagyu cows in from Japan when he was a professor at WSU. He said, "Jim, how are you going to finish these animals?" And I said, "I don't know." This was years ago, and he said, "If you want my opinion," I said, "Hell yeah, I want your opinion." He said, "You go buy these barley pellets and you finish them with grain and with hay." And that's what we do. And our goal at the Bar 4-6 is Prime Plus. When you buy beef from us, we want you to say, "What the hell was that?" And that's all I ever want. We don't use steroids. We don't use hormones. And what's crazy to me is that there's really smart people out there that are vets, PhDs, and they believe in those things because there's more weight faster up to the animal because everything is based on pounds and weight. That's the opposite of what we're doing. I don't want anything to do with that. And I'm not going to go into the dark side of the beef industry because there's no need to. All we need to do is talk about what we do here, and we're proud of what we do. And all of our animals do free range. We do feed them grass and hay year round. And then we feed them a small percentage of their diet is grain because it helps take the edge off, especially in the wintertime. But that's how we got to where we are with our feed program, and this is it, and we're proud of it. The majority of our animals aren't sold as beef because we just can't produce enough. The majority of them we sell as replacement heifers and bulls. And all these young bulls that we have, and heifers, have been raised with love their entire life on the Bar 4-6. And we're going to start a halter breaking program where when you buy one from us, but the majority of our buyers will buy our bulls and our heifers to improve the program that they currently have on their farm. If you put our bulls on your commercial girls, everything will improve. All your carcass data will go up, and what we're looking for is the healthiest beef possible, and full-blood Akaushi bulls on commercial girls will sure help improve your program. And we ship animals nationwide. In fact, we just sent a heifer, a guy bought in Wisconsin, and my son told me that, and I said, "Well, I don't think that's going to work." And my son says, "What are you talking about, Dad?" And I said, "No, it's too far of a ride for her to go by herself." So, all due respect to the buyer, I said, I think what we ought to do is either tell him he can buy another heifer and we'll sell him at a very good price for him. Option A is to buy another heifer so they ride together. Option B is to buy her mother so that mother and heifer calf can ride together. And I think she was weaned at 9 months, 10 months. Or option C is don't buy them at all. And he opted for option B, where he took the heifer and the mother and has already reached out to us and asked if he could buy more from us. We're very proud of our program. We're very proud of my son studies the best genetics in the planet, on the planet, and we try to incorporate that here. And we're small enough that we can use the best semen with the best eggs possible to give the best offspring possible. Now, with the Akaushi, there's a limited number that we can draw from, because there was only a handful that came from Japan, and now they've locked that down, and we can't get any more genetics. The gene pool is basically locked. But the animals and the offspring are all unique and different anyway. So we do our best to align the best genetics possible for all of the things that there's so many different factors that people take into consideration, and whether you do or you don't believe them, it's up to you. But you know, at the end of the day, they need to be the best and the healthiest beef possible, and that's our goal. And we're damn proud of what we're doing. Well, I hope that answered a few of your questions on grass-fed versus grass-finished versus grain-finished. And if you're a little more confused than when I started this conversation, I apologize for that. But USDA, you can sure look up and they'll tell you what their requirements are, and I think that most consumers would be pretty disappointed. That's why it's more important to buy your beef locally. Go meet your farmers. See what they're doing. See what kind of hay they're feeding their animals, because what's going through them is what's going to be going through you and your children. And the more homework you do, the more it's going to scare you, and you're going to want to buy beef from your local producers. Well, stay warm.